Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how to use PowerShell. My name is Yevgen and this channel is all about showing you how to become a highly paid IT professional and fast. Let's get started. To begin with, I'd like to explain what is PowerShell. PowerShell is a cross-platform task automation and configuration management framework consisting of command line shell and scripting language. So in fewer words, it's a way for you to control your computer by just using the shell itself, so PowerShell itself. This means most of the tasks you do using your graphical user interface, also known as GUI, can be done here through PowerShell. When Microsoft introduced this in 2006, it was a great success. The thing is, before 2006, the only thing you had to manage your computer using command line was CMD. And CMD, as is well known, have a lot of issues. At that time, Linux already had something great happening with their shells, so with Bash and other shells, where you can do, well, everything. I mean, obviously not everything you can do with graphical user interfaces, but most of the tasks you ever would need to do, you could use Bash for it. And in Windows, it wasn't the case. You couldn't even find some basic strings in some text. You will also have some problems in executing some basic commands and doing something that was easily done in Linux, and you were not able to do that in Windows. Obviously, there were some hacks. For example, some people introduced new tools to give you that output of information that you needed. For example, even tasks list. This means in CMD, you didn't have a way to show the currently running tasks. In Linux, you had PS for a very long time. And well, it was a great tool to do and to use. So when Microsoft introduced it, they added a few interesting ideas to it. Now, instead of working just with text, you work with .NET objects. And it's based on .NET Common Language Runtime, also known as CLR. So the idea behind this is PowerShell is more interested and more focused on OOP concepts, so object-oriented programming concepts. Obviously, in most applications that you will write, you might not even use it, but behind it, it uses OOP. The thing is, PowerShell is something really great, and it works very fine under Windows. And as I stated initially, it's a cross-platform task automation system. So it can also run under Linux, even Mac. This is good if you'd like to join Linux and start using it without, well, breaking your code that you write. So obviously Linux, well, Bash might have some different possibilities, but just by using PowerShell scripts, you can do the same tasks under Windows or even Linux. So let's see a few examples of just a simple basics and basic commands. Let's first create a text file, 123.txt. Hello world, this is some text. So we've just created a file called text123.txt. In CMD, we had to use command type. And one thing to note that these commands, type text123.txt, these commands from CMD are still available in PowerShell. This means that what you will be using here, you can still use the older things that you created in batch files. Okay, so type command has come from batch, and with this you can see the content of the file. PowerShell is also great because it allows you to create, well, aliases for your commands. For example, there is a command called get-content. Get-content will show you the content of some specific file. But you can also use cat from Linux to get the same file. This allows you to easily understand and, well, reuse commands as you'd like. So for example, instead of memorizing stuff like get content, you can just create an alias for it, for example, like cat. And this will allow you to see the actual execution of the command done. Another great thing is bash wasn't well documented. Obviously you had some documentation, but it wasn't all that clear. PowerShell came to fix this, and the way you get information about commands is well documented. So let's try to see how it goes. Get content. Oops. So what I'm doing now is pressing tab. This wasn't also available in Bash, and now it's available in PowerShell. It allows you to autocomplete your commands. So if I write get tab something, it will allow me to choose the first command that starts with get. And if I continue writing it, it can find the thing that I would like to see. In PowerShell, to get help, you just use this thing. So minus and question mark. And all the commands in PowerShell will have the same format. This was huge, because most of the commands used like /! minus help, minus help, and well, PowerShell managed to change and allow for everyone to just use one simple way to interact with help. Okay, another thing we would like to do is to understand who should use PowerShell. So PowerShell is a tool that allows you to automate tasks and, well, do different things with your computer by not using graphical user interface. So most of the people who would like to use it are system administrators. And well, if you're trying to get to be a system administrator and start working on Microsoft operating system, on Windows, both on client and server, you should start looking into this, into using PowerShell. Because PowerShell knowledge is something that will help you really a lot over the time. Another question that you might ask yourself, when to use PowerShell? So this is pretty straightforward, because if you want to have something directly interacting with other applications from Microsoft, well, you just open PowerShell and use it. Obviously, if you have some task that you will do once in a lifetime, there is no point in automating it, because automation takes some time. But if you'd like to do some specific task that you do daily or weekly or even monthly, then you should start looking into PowerShell and how to automate it. Because, for example, you can today waste like 1 hour creating the script and tomorrow use it in less than 5 minutes. While every time you would need to, for example, use 30 minutes to do some specific task. Okay, so this is it, and let's look into other parts of PowerShell. So let's continue and open PowerShell again. One very important part with cmdlets is that some of them require administrative privileges. This means if you open PowerShell directly with your own user, it will not start as admin, so not as administrative account. To open that as administrative account, you just write PowerShell after pressing start, and then right-clicking it and choosing Run as administrator. Now a window will ask us if we want to confirm that we want to start as administrator, and we press yes. Now all the cmdlets, if this pops up, now all the cmdlets we run will be run as an administrator, and this will allow us to use all of them without any issues. Okay, so now let's start with the most important part in PowerShell, the help. Help in PowerShell is something really important, because if you really want to understand PowerShell, you'll be looking into help many times. There are two ways of getting help. The first one is getting help directly from the shell, and the second one is searching for information online. There is a very interesting fact here that, well, to get some help, you just write get help. And here you can see some specific information on help. This means that, for example, if you would like to search some information about, let's imagine a cmdlet called get service. Service, we can get help on a specific command. So this will describe us the name of the cmdlet, the syntax description, and links. Also some remarks. Obviously this is great, but sometimes we might need some examples. So we can just write -examples. And if I write examples correctly, we will get some examples. Okay, in here you can see that there is a lot more information. So for example, we have here some specification that tell us just to use the command directly. And well, let's try it first. So get service. If I wrote this correctly, and now we write get service and get information about the services. Well, that's great, but this information might not look very well appealing. So to get some information on the web, so to open our browser, we can just write the command itself once again, but -online. This will open our default browser, if you have one set up, and open the page of Microsoft describing the command itself. This takes a few seconds because I have the browser open, but after it loads, we will see the page actually explaining everything of this command. So both syntax, description, examples, parameters, inputs, etc, etc, etc. Well, so if you have any problems or any issues, you can just search for information here, and it works for all the commands that come with Windows. One thing that you might have, well, to deal with is when you first write get help, you might step into this window. So the first time you run it, it will ask you to download, well, update help. So updated version of help information. This means it will download everything from Microsoft to show you the help. By default, for some reason, Microsoft thought it doesn't need to bring the help command and have it updated, but well, it's easily updated if you just write the command and press Y, and then, well, it downloads the files and you can use it. Okay, one thing is very important. There is a lot of commands, a lot, really a lot of them. So one important thing is to understand that sometimes examples or descriptions might not be totally correct. Obviously, the easiest commands are easy to understand if it's correct or not, but notice and use your brain while searching for information here, as some errors are present. Okay, so now we got the idea of commands and how to get help about some specific command. Now let's take a look about the idea itself behind the command. So what get service means? PowerShell is a thing that uses verb-noun pair. So when you write something, sorry, notepad, when you have a command called get service, you have a verb-noun pair. Oops, verb. Okay, so this means that there are two parts of the command. The verb part of the name identifies the action that command cmdlet performs. This means this part, the verb part, it tells PowerShell what you'll be doing. So if you want to get something, you will write get. If you want to set something, you'll use set. And noun is the part of the name that identifies the entity of which the action is performed. So as we are working with services, we would like to get information from the service. So in this case, service is our pair. Okay, now let's take a look at something really important when you're doing scripts and writing them by yourself. So PowerShell has the option, PowerShell has the option for you to, well, save the information. The thing is, if you close a PowerShell window, it doesn't do the same as on Linux and saves all the information in bash history. For this to work, you have to write the command start-transcript. This way, it will log everything in this file. Let's take a look. Let's type 1, 2, 3. File non-existent, just some errors. Let's just cd somewhere. And well, let's just close PowerShell. We have the name of the file copied. And now let's close it, and now let's see what we have there. So open in Notepad, not need this, and let's open it. As you can see, we have everything. We have the information about the user, the time, host name, well, everything that you might need, and you have this transcript itself. So you have, for example, this command where you have, well, information on what happened. So in this case, the file wasn't found. And so you understand what's happening, and if you need to record it and, well, remember it, you'll have this information saved. Also notice that cd slash changed the directory in PowerShell, but it's not appearing here because it didn't do, well, any output. So in this case, it will only save this command as last one. Okay, so now we understand the basics of commands and understand how to save this information. Now let's go back to PowerShell. Once again, open it as administrator. And let's see a few examples of commands. So, for example, there is a command called get command. And this will show us all the commands and all the functions there is in PowerShell. So everything, all the, well, cmdlets from all the applications from everywhere that it supports will be present here. And if we would like to find something, we just need to specify noun, verb noun format of what you are searching for. For example, I might be searching for serve. And this will search for all the information that has serve in the noun part. This has a lot of results, so let's search for service. And there is a few more of them. As there are many different services, this will search for all of them. Another thing that PowerShell has is aliases. So let's open PowerShell again as administrator. Let me just click there. Okay, so some commands like cd, alias, etc. are not really the commands that PowerShell understands on its own. So there were aliases used for it. Let's take a look at them. So let's see the actual aliases here and what are they. As you can see, cd is set location. So the command that actually being used when cd is called is set location. The same thing goes for alias, so clear host, and, well, other things like cp, cd, etc. This is important to remember that these commands are very important for you to use, and it might be easier for you to understand what's happening while looking at the whole command, because, for example, gl for get location might be a bit strange. This way we can get some information about it. And to get information about specific alias, we just write get-alias cd, for example. And this will show us the name that's being used in here. Okay, as you remember, PowerShell is not just a text-based thing. It's an application that works with objects. And objects have different properties and, well, functions. They're called methods, but that's not really important. So let's see a thing called getProcess. It's a cmdlet. It allows us to see all the processes that are running currently on system. And for example, we have Notepad running. To get the process information about Notepad, we just write -name and the process name we're looking for. In this case, Notepad. And here we have some information. Okay, so well, this is great, but we want to be able to do something with the process. In this case, for example, we'd like to kill it. To get information and ways to understand what we can do with this command and, well, everything from it, we just write get process -name notepad type get member. This way we will see all the possible properties, all the methods, alias properties, etc. of this specific, well, output. This means that the process is something that returns an object. So this is type name of an object. In this case, .process. Okay. Now, if you would like to get all the information about all of them, we just write select object asterisk. And this will give us all the information that it can about our process. So as you can see, output differs a bit. There is much more information about it. So also we have IDs in both cases, but in this case we have much more interesting information. How much memory is used, how much, well, when was it started, etc. Okay, but, well, this gives us some information, but we would like to, for example, kill it. So for this case, let's work with variables. Variables on PowerShell is something very, well, unique and good to use, because if you need something to be done with it, to be done with some, well, object, you should be using them, because it allows us to directly access that set object. Let's, for example, write a variable called node equals get process -name notepad. This will create a variable called node that we can access directly. As you can see, the output is the same. And now we can access this directly. Some information, for example, in this case we had something like ID and name and, well, so we have process name. And so just to get there, we just write node.name. As you can see, the name is correct. Let's try to get an ID. As you can see, it's also working. So now we can access specific details of the set process. In this case, of the object of the process. Now we can also use something different from that object, like methods. For example, in this case, we have a method called kill. Kill as, well, description. Actually, there is not much description, but kill allows us to kill the set process. So let's write alias and let's write node.kill. In this case, we need to open and close parentheses because this is a method. So it's not the information we are looking to get, but something that we want to execute. And as you can see, notepad, well, got killed. Now we have it here, but it doesn't exist in this case. So it was killed already. If we try to kill it again, well, we might have some problems. In this case, it will say that access is denied, and because it tried to kill something that doesn't exist. Okay, so let's now take a look at something more. In Windows, the developers of PowerShell thought that it would be a great idea to have an actual user interface to help you write scripts. For that, they created an ICE. ICE is Integrated Scripting Environment. This is something that allows you to create scripts with help and guidance of the PowerShell itself. Let's take a look at this. So just writing ICE will open ICE for us, when we open it, obviously. There are three parts of this. There is script pane. So this is a script that we'll be writing. This is command pane. This we have the output of this. And in this side we have command add-on pane. So in here we have all the commands that we were looking at and that we can use. As you can see, there are some interesting aliases like cd/ that will change the actual directory for slash. So the C directory in this case. If you were another disk, it will change to the main directory of that disk. Okay, now let's work with, once again, variables here. And, well, the most important thing that this provides is, well, hints in the input. So instead of remembering every single command, you can just write something that you know that starts with some, well, specific characters. So let's note. Let's create a simple script that will kill, well, Notepad. So we just need to get some information about this. Get. As you can see, I'm writing it and I already having information. To finish the command, I just press tab. In this case, as I was saying, I'd like to kill Notepad. When I have this, I can just, well, use node, dot kill, open and close parentheses. Okay, so this will get the process Notepad and kill it. So let's save this as a command and let's put it on our desktop. Let's call it kill Notepad. Now to execute it, we need to go to that, well, directory, users, user desktop here. As you can see, you have here kill Notepad. Let's start Notepad and then let's execute our script. So there is very important thing that's happening now. The execution of scripts directly is disabled on our system. Windows tried to protect our system from executing unwanted PowerShell scripts. And to fix it, we just need to change the following. So the command to disable this is very simple. It's set -execution policy minus execution policy. As you can see, we have our hints once again, execution policy, and in this case unrestricted. So not undefined, unrestricted. Okay, so when I press enter, our default policy will change. As you can see, the description already says it all. If you allow the execution of this policy, if you change it, then some malicious scripts might be executed. This means if you double-click the script, it will be executed. Well, obviously, if you don't double-click the script and don't auto-run it, well, it will not run. So it's an interesting point of view from Microsoft to do this. Obviously, in most Windows 10 operating systems that are used by simple users, not system administrators, this is a default policy that makes sense, because why would a user that never used or tried to develop a program use some PowerShell scripts? In normal cases, that wouldn't happen. So that way, Microsoft protects the most common user base they have. So we would like to change it, so we choose yes. And as you can see, we have another problem. Well, as you can see, the error given is access is denied. This is because we're running ICE as a non-administrative account. So let's close ICE and open it as administrator. This is the same problem that happens with PowerShell if you open it directly. So if you would need something to be done by system, it might not get executed when you actually need it. So try running as administrator as many times as you need, unless you don't need it. And you definitely know that's not the case to have this running, and well, you actually don't need it. Okay, so let's once again do execution policy, unrestricted. As you can see, hints are helping us, and well, this is working. And this time it didn't give an error. This is because we are running as administrator. And now let's finally kill our Notepad. And it is done. As you can see, Notepad was killed. It was in the background running and it got killed. Obviously, if you run the script again, there is no process called Notepad, and well, there is nothing happening. Also, there are a few basic commands that you might need, like write host for hello world, for example. So this will write text in your console. So for example, if we open the script, kill notepad, and we might start with, oh, right, host killing notepad. Notice one thing, as you can see, there is an error here. ICE is, well, being an user interface that allows us to make scripts, is saying that there is an error that needs to be fixed. In this case, we know that we are missing a quotation mark, and so if we just add it, notepad, it will get fixed. So it is important to look through what we have here, because, well, it's an interface that is actually used to help us out to write programs. Obviously, there are more complex things that can be written, as this is, well, a scripting language, but it still allows you to use if-else conditions, it allows you to use increments, for cycles, it allows you to do many different things. But, well, in this video, I'm just showing you the basics of PowerShell. So I hope you had fun and learned a few things. See you in the next one.